Everyone has a story, and this is mine. My name's Robin Smith. I live in Nottinghamshire in England, and I currently work for Crazy Coffins, who are a company that make bespoke, unusual coffins to basically allow people to live out their last wishes and make what is a painful situation as painless as possible. I kind of fell into this job. I used to work for myself making just unusual robots and things out of wood, and had a change of circumstances and found myself here one day. And ever since, I've been making the strangest things that they have for them, whether that be a boat that somebody always sort of aspired to have in life but they couldn't, whether that be a suitcase with all of the places that they visited on, or something that is either unique to them or allows them to send a message that they perhaps couldn't when they were here.
نشان تابوت حتی در حروف حک شده بر روی سردر کارخانه کریزی کافینز هم دیده می شود. اما تابوت هایی که اینجا ساخته می شوند هر تابوتی نیستند. کسی که در این تابوت به خاک سپرده شد شاید کشاورز بود. این یکی بالرین. تابوتی شبیه به اتومبیل محبوب. شبیه به خانه شناورش. و یا یادآوری از حرفه و پیشه سالیان. هنرمندان و نجارهای این کارخانه طی بیش از 20 سال هیچ دو تابوتی را شبیه به هم نساختند. رابین یکی از کارکنان این کارخانه است.
My physical situation has been challenging over the years. When I was very, very small, initially I slipped and broke my tailbone. Didn't know I'd broken my tailbone for nearly 6 years, but unfortunately in that time it caused a very large perineural cyst to grow, which caused me a lot of pain. And then when I got into my late 20s, that then caused me to have a stroke, which once again took quite a few years to diagnose, because as a young man, if you turn up to A&E with unusual symptoms, it's usually presumed that you've done it to yourself, you've taken something or whatnot. That has guided my life in a way that has in many ways been unfortunate, but in many ways has also allowed me to find a huge amount about myself that I never would have found in a normal circumstance. You find that you strive for different avenues when you have less tools in your kit. I've always made things from being very small. I've been one of those people who finds the best way for me to express myself is by creating. I always find it's a really, really good way to express yourself when you're not necessarily that good at expressing yourself vocally. Usually what would happen is we will get an inquiry, we'll try and get a bit of a story with that, because the story about the person is far more important about what the person wants. I think a lot of people who come here are in a state of distress usually, which means that sometimes they're not thinking as rationally as they would, and they're desperately trying to make a connection. It's very easy in these situations to do something that's quite theatrical, and I think as people we do tend to lead towards the theatrical when we're emotional. Sometimes somebody will come to you with an idea that to them feels like a really great idea. They may choose that they want their child, say, to be in another child, which sounds like a nice idea. You know, I'll have a sculpture of my loved one and they can go in there, but actually that's kind of horrifying when it comes to realities. So we'll try and find something that allows them to still get what they need from that experience, but not necessarily regret that experience.
تابوت یک جعبه چوبی است برای حمل و نقل و دفن مردگان. نشانه ای از احترام به شخص درگذشته. مهمترین کاربرد تابوت برای بازماندگان است. تحمل درد را ساده تر می کند. اما ساخت تابوت‌های شخصی تاریخ بسیار کهنی دارد.
It's something that I think particularly in the West, we've not done really until the last sort of 20 or 30 years. It was quite common in other countries, sort of the African countries, and a lot of the inspiration for what we do comes from those cultures.
آیین کهنی که نشانه‌هایش در فرهنگ و هنر مدرن هم دیده می‌شود. یکی از قدیمی‌ترین تابوت‌های کارخانه بازسازی فرشته شمال اثر هنرمند به نام انگلیسی آنتونی گورملی بود.
Anthony Gormley actually was quite flattered that people had taken his design and turned it into a coffin. That rather than it being sort of a copy of his work, he saw it as people having a very close tie to that area. Because of course the Angel of the North, it's a very well-known sculpture. A lot of people have quite a personal connection to it.
It's very evidently an object that's been made from the ground up. It's never going to fly. I'd like to think that this piece is going to be there for 50 years and hopefully it will be there for 100. And that people can live and die with it. Art doesn't have to, as it were, have the special conditions of the art gallery, the private collection, the museum, to give itself a context in which it can work.
I started playing wheelchair basketball a lot later than I should have. In the aftermath of the stroke, my left arm I have very little control in. I just didn't think it was something I would be able to do. I mean, at one point I was asked if I'd like to try out for the GB team, but sadly I was far, far too old and I just looked very young. It's such a leveling thing. It doesn't matter what your particular issue is. Everybody finds their way around it. You know what, for me, I know that if I do something, it's probably going to hurt me. And it's very easy to sit there and go, I just don't want to be in pain, so I'm not going to do anything. But actually, it's more of a transaction. I'm prepared to give a little bit of pain to get the benefit of what that gives me. I think I learned that I was very much more capable than I thought I was. I think the most important takeaway that I have had from doing this is basically that there are many ways of dealing with this, many ways of dealing with loss, of dealing with a change in your life that you have no control over. You can look at many other countries and the fact that they have so many beautiful ways of honouring the transition from one stage of life to the next. It's really nice to try and learn to find a better way of doing that and a better way of sending sort of the old version of your life off in a sort of graceful way and welcoming the next part, rather than sort of feeling like it's just terminal crash. And if we can show people that this is not weird, this is actually a way of coping, it's a way of dealing with things that maybe they can't deal with in other ways, then that's just a win. It's always going to be a win. There was a young lady who lost her husband and they had 7 children. At the time they wanted a very specific boat. We realised, she explained to us rather, that her youngest son wasn't really old enough to comprehend the fact that his father had gone. but he would regularly watch his father sail. The lasting memory for that child was seeing the boat go through the funeral, and rather than remembering the trauma of it, it was yet again something his dad loved being that last memory. I came here because I knew how to make just about anything out of wood, not realising that that skill would then lead on to being able to actually make a difference. I think to be able to help somebody through such an unusual thing as a coffin, something that has so many negative connotations around it, is brilliant. It's great.
شاهدی از ماندگاری عشق به زندگی و اینکه هیچ چیز هرگز نمیتواند تخیل را از حرکت باز بدارد.
I love rock, I love metal, I do love jazz. Anything that I think can express an emotion, I'm good. I love photography and imagery and cinema. I particularly love cinema that is sci-fi orientated. Anything that can leave me talking to my wife for a good hour about whether something's possible or not. I love anything with sugar in it. I will eat that till I am sick, which is not good. My wife is absolutely adamant I will get diabetes by the time I'm 40, which is probably right. What else do I love? I very much want to see the world. That's something I never thought I would be able to do. But as I get older, I'm realising there is 1,000 ways to do anything that you think you can't do. And while that's quite scary, it's going to be a good journey, and I'm ready. I will also love making anything. If you have a strange idea and you think it's strange, I probably want to make it. There's nothing more rewarding to me than thinking of something weird and then making it a reality. The world needs more weird things.